Bruce Dickinson or Yannick Gears or Steve Harris, someone had to have heard this album or heard Barren Cross and this song, and we're like, we have to do this.
Mighty Gordon Sitsworth here from Images of Eden, and you are watching the Krash Kourse YouTube channel with our local homegrown press guy, Trevor Crash Knight, here in York, PA.
What is up, guys? We got a very interesting episode for you here today, and we are going to be doing 3 essential Christian metal albums that you need to listen to or buy. All right, so we are going to be doing 3 albums. Now, each band is going to be from a different subgenre of metal. So I am going to give you one album more of a traditional style heavy metal, one more of a glam hair metal type deal, and the last one I'm going to give you is going to be more along the lines of a thrash death metal album. So very interesting indeed. And so first and foremost, Christian metal. A lot of people like to laugh at Christian metal, but it's not to be laughed at. Now, just like some people laugh at like how silly satanic bands can get, or like the black metal bands can get. It's the same kind of deal like with Christian metal. There's good ones, but there are some that do really preach and it just doesn't come across very well. But that's with any subgenre of metal, in my opinion. So Christian metal there's good stuff here.
That's right. I said it. I meant it. I'm here to represent it.
And I'm going to give you 3 of my favorites, or 3 that you just need to listen to. And first and foremost, we are going to be doing a little band called Barren Cross. All right, so we had Barren Cross, State of Control from 1989. It is off Enigma Records, or Benson, which is an offshoot of Enigma, which is kind of strange to think about too, because like during the time you had bands like Rat, Poison, Death Angel on Enigma, and plenty of others. And also, how could I forget the great XYZ band on Enigma? But Enigma had a good stuff, good bands and outputs, and Barren Cross is one of them. So, like, now the best way to describe Barren Cross, and especially this album or even Atomic Arena as well, because I kind of thought about doing that album, but I knew I was more familiar with this album per se, with some of the songs on here. But with Barren Cross, it is very Iron Maiden style Dio vocal, very Bruce Dickinson and Ronnie James Dio style vocal throughout the albums. And now, when I say Iron Maiden, I will say more of the Fear of the Dark and No Prayer for the Dying era, if you will. But it's just because like that is one of my favorite Iron Maiden eras, the 1990 to 95 style outputs of Maiden. One of my favorites, Fear of the Dark and X Factor, love them. But anyway, State of Control though, Barren Cross, like they sound just like Fear of the Dark mixed with No Prayer for the Dying, mixed with Ronnie James Dio, especially with State of Control. Man, like this is a great album. So the single off of here was Crying Over You. Now, I'm going to tell you something here. This came out in 1989. Fear of the Dark came out in 1992. So, and a lot of people know one of the singles, the ballad off of Fear of the Dark, Waste and Love. And Crying Over You from Barren Cross is one of the ballads off here. Bruce Dickinson or Yannick Gears or Steve Harris, someone had to have heard this album or heard Barren Cross and this song, and we're like, we have to do this. Because Waste and Love sounds almost like that's what happened. That's what it sounds like. It sounds exactly not exactly like it, but very similar structure to the song, to the deliveries. Man, like it is kind of crazy. Like the more I think about that, like I'm like, there has to be some kind of connection there, or someone was aware of somebody here when with this song. But nonetheless, Barren Cross crying over you, great song, great ballad. But State of Control, the title track, really good, catchy chorus in there. And I will say too the bonus track for the CD here, 2,000 years, very I will say very power slavey. So if Iron Maiden took one from Barren Cross took one from Iron Maiden from Power Slave. So that it all comes out in the wash. But at the end of the day, us fans, I don't care. I don't care who took what from what. Barren Cross, I'm sure had plenty of influence from Iron Maiden. So I'm happy to have, a band that is very similar style that shows their influence. And that's what we kind of talked about with Zombies recently in an album review. I don't care if you show your influence or if you're heavy influenced by a band and that's kind of what you sound like. Just don't make it a carbon copy of it. Do your own thing, which Barren Cross does do their own thing throughout all these albums here. And it's not a strict copycat type deal. And 100%, and like I said, it's just more of the lines of Iron Maiden from 1989 to 1992. That's what it sounds like, most of these albums. So, but no, Your Love Gives is the final track. Just a slower ballad, kind of like send you off here off this album. Really good, but God, like I will say there's maybe like two tracks like somewhere in the middle here that do kind of like I wouldn't necessarily keep on the iPod. But as far as like a whole listen through, 11 tracks, like not bad at all. At all. Like because I was familiar with Barren Cross because when I was young in high school, I was big into thrash, I was big into hair metal, I was big into power metal. And there for a little stretch, I found out about like Christian metal and like of the 80s and stuff, and I was like, holy shit. Like I'm always bit I always loved the forgotten and unknowns bands and albums of the golden era. And it just seemed like Christian metal was like that whole other world of unknown just because of them just being in that, I guess, subgenre of Christian metal in that niche. And it's just crazy. So like Barren Cross, I came across Barren Cross crying over you. Although I would never had the album or any other albums up until recently because they're just very hard to find. And I found this in Atomic Arena like last month, and I was super excited when I found this.
Hell yes.
Please pick it up, especially if you're a fan of the Iron Maiden vocal deliveries, along with like Ronnie James Dio as well, vocal delivery and that same kind of song style, music structure and stuff like that. Awesome, and it's not overly preachy as well, and that's the other thing too with these albums, because like I don't like the whole. It doesn't bother me if the music's really good, like if it's really preachy. I mean, I can live with it, live without it, one or the other. But none of these albums are very overly preachy, I would say. That was one of the things for me as well, like when picking three albums that are essential for a lot of non-Christian metal fans and also Christian metal fans, is that I didn't want it to be like overly preachy, like, because like that turns a lot of people off. So I tried to stay away from that. And Barren Cross, 1989, State of Control, absolutely a banger. All right, so now, guys, for our second pick, we are going over into the death metal / thrash metal style of the metal genre, and that is going to be 1989's Sacrament, Testimony of Apocalypse.
All who accept him are forgiven. To the pain in his eyes, he gave his life to die. The passion in his face, he must save the human race. Jesus Christ.
All right, so this one here is another one that I actually had this reissue from 2005. So like I said, when I was in high school, it was probably like 2007 I picked this up, give or take, around there. So relatively new. And like I said, like I was big into thrash. I was big into just like finding all kinds of shit, buying shit that you could not find anywhere. So I remember I picked this up off eBay brand new. I think it was like 15 bucks at the time. Now at that point, like I was still a young teenager, and 15 bucks was a lot because like I could buy like three hair metal albums or like just three used albums for the price of one here. But I was like I said, I went through a little bit of a Christian phase there for like a couple months, and I was like, "Oh, I'm just gonna pick it up, because I'm not buying any more Slayer stuff, I guess, like during that time. And I was like, okay, Sacrament, man, these guys sound like Slayer, have a little bit of that early Death feel too. Oh my god, like some of the stuff here, uh, very Testament feel. One of the tracks on here, near the end, it is what is it here? Absence of Fear, I believe. The intro gives me a tilt because it slows down with an acoustic style, and it just reminds me of something Testament would do. And then it goes jumps right back into thrash, but it just has that intro that's something that really reminds me of Testament. Slave to Sin was one of the songs off here that I know not a lot of people know about this album. One, because it's Christian metal, and two, because it was on an independent label. Although, if anyone's familiar with No Life Till Metal, Scott Walters' channel, he does. I think he redid, or he like had a hand in like some of the artwork, like when they reissued it. I don't know if it was this reissue or the most recent reissue that he had a hand in, and he was saying like how the cover didn't really come out. It came out darker than what like the colors are darker or the shades are darker than what he wanted to. I think that's what he was talking about. This one, I'm not sure if it was this one or the newer one, but it is pretty dark there nonetheless. But still, a really cool album cover too that gets your attention for that thrash metal, death metal fan. When you're looking at like Peace Cells or Rust in Peace, the Metallica covers, Overkill covers, Testament covers, this kind of creator covers, because like Sacrament even has a little bit of a creator feel to it, like Pleasure to Kill and stuff like that. And that grabs your attention, that grabs a kid's attention, and it certainly has the music capabilities behind it. I would throw this up with any creator Slayer album at the time. Like it's really, really good. Slave to Sin, like I said, is a standout track. One of my favorites though is Conquer Death and The Risen. So you got 10 tracks here, and it's a banging 10 tracks. Like, you will know that you listen to this album. You will not forget it. No matter if you're Christian or non-Christian or secular, whatever you are, atheist, satanic, you're gonna remember this album when you listen to it, or after you're done listening to it. But this one here has the Presumed Dead demo as well, so that's why it was a little bit more expensive with the reissue. But guys, this is really good. They are actually from Pennsylvania. I didn't know that. I think near Philly, if I remember correctly. And I actually didn't know that they came out with an album in 1992, Haunts of Violence. I don't know if that was released. It was on the same label. So I don't know because like I said, I've been familiar. I had this album since I was probably like 13, 14 years old. And I just I never have seen another physical copy of it, of all my years of hunting. And also never seen anything of the second album. Didn't even know about a second album. So very interesting nonetheless. And I also didn't know that they are still somewhat active. Two original members are still active in a band called Testimony of Apocalypse. So, and I don't know if it's still, I'm guessing it's still like a Christian style band. I'll have to look into that because like I didn't know that until just like today. So I didn't really get to do much homework on the most recent Testimony of Apocalypse, the band with two of the original members. But nonetheless, 1989's Sacrament, Testimony of Apocalypse. Check it out, especially if you're a fan of the death style metal, thrash metal. You'll be right at home. The best way I can set, like I said, describe it would be probably Pleasure to Kill. That's probably a really good description. Or Maybe some early Slayer, maybe not Rain and Blood, maybe a little bit earlier than that. All right, so for our final choice, we have more of the mainstream here. It is going to be Stryper's 1986's "To Hell with the Devil" side of things, and the most, I guess you would say, well known up until at least recently, anyway. Most well known Christian metal band, if you will. And Stryper, and that's the thing. Here, I'll show off the gatefold here. I actually really enjoy the original cover art because after the initial run or after a certain period, they went to that all black with the like Pyramid 777 album cover. I have it on CD over there. And that is not nearly as much fun to look at as this is. This album kills that. I don't know what the problem is as far as them taking it off or record label taking it off or what the deal was. But yeah, it's not very good. The new one. This one totally kills that one. So like I said, something to look at while you're listening to this. That's what's great about it. But this album did go to I think it's reached multi-platinum now. I seen officially just single platinum, but I think it did reach double at least now. Don't hold me to that. But it did reach number 32 in the top 200 Billboard charts. And this album, there's a reason why this album is the album that everyone looks to when you think of Christian metal or even Stryper. This put Stryper way on the map. And I don't even know if I doubt they never sold more than this album afterward. If I'm not mistaken, because in God We Trust, I don't think I know a lot of people don't care for that album, but I don't think because it only went gold. In God We Trust only went gold, and rightfully so because that's not nearly as a good album. But this, To Hell with the Devil, has guitar solos, has great vocals, has great drumming, great everything, great hooks in here, great ballads. Now I will say, All of Me, okay, we're kind of pushing more of the girly style ballads, but I can listen to it. It's all right. It's good. I like it. Michael Sweet's a great singer. I wouldn't change anything about this record. Now is it my favorite Stryper record? No, not at all. I really enjoy their new stuff, like their modern stuff. Super impressive. I think their modern stuff is way better than the original run era of Stryper 80s stuff. And I don't say that about a whole lot of 80s bands. That they have better outputs now than they did back in the day. But you got some of the singles on here. Calling on You, great catchy track. Free, very good guitar work in that as well. A little bit more up pace, aggressive style. As aggressive as it can get, in 1986 for Stryper. Now, sometimes when I talk about aggressive, I am talking more in like the sleaze metal side of things, like in the early '90s, late '80s. No, not that kind of aggressive, but just a little bit more of an edge to it. Free. You had the other ballad, the big ballad. Honestly, on here, very good song. Because this is another album I had when I was in high school, and man, I played this a lot. Honestly, it was great. I played that. Calling on You, Free, and Honestly are honestly the probably the most songs that I played off this. Holding On is good. Like now, I will say there are some weak tracks on here that I still don't really have on the iPod today. Uh, is it a perfect album? No, not by any means, but very good. It is an album that I would give to somebody if someone's like, "Hey, I'm Christian. I only want to listen to Christian stuff. Uh, don't give me none of that satanic, evil doing, drug stuff, sex and all that fun stuff." But I would certainly give if I were to give them a Stryper album, depending on if I knew of their taste beforehand, if they were just more of a common ground hard rock metal guy, this would be the Stryper album I would give to them. But if they were a little bit more on the heavier side, starting out, I would probably give them one of the modern Stryper albums. But nonetheless, this is one that does need to be in every Christian metals guys or girls collection. So, 1986, that's early too. That's really early. And even I would even say like behind me here, their first two outputs are a little more on the more straightforward, stripped down hard rock to metal style than even this. They started getting really uh good production, a little bit glossy, not nearly as glossy as In God We Trust, but you know, it's somewhat in that same vein as say Soldiers Under Command or you know that those first releases. So, but yeah, everything's good here. I It's not one that I will complain with if someone throws it on. I'm cool. This is good stuff. Uh, just great musicianship all the way through, and the great outfits of and that's the thing. Like Stryper always got shit in the '80s because oh yeah, Christians don't do this stuff. They don't play with electric guitars. They don't use electricity. They don't use six strings or drums or what have you. Come on, let's stop splitting hairs here. And if you're really trying to make people aware of your message, you got to use different avenues. And the old heads back in the day didn't understand that and still don't really understand that. So, yeah, that's a whole nother topic for another different time. But, guys, three of the most essential albums, in my opinion, as of now, because this will probably have a part two to it, but it will be To Hell with the Devil from Stryper, Sacrament's 1989's Testimony of Apocalypse for all you death thrash metal fans out there, and then also 1989's Barren Cross, State of Control, and more along the lines of the traditional metal, Iron Maiden, Judas Priest, Dio, that type of metal. So I don't think you'll go wrong with either one of those. Just pick your lane right there. Which one you guys, which subgenre you tend to visit most. Go down on that album and let me know what you think. So, guys, stay out of that collateral damage. Thank you for watching the Crash Course Metal Show. And if you guys enjoy this video, check out some more forgotten albums right here.